Thank you for the witness for being here today. We're happy that at the initiative of the NDP, we can get into the bottom of the KPMG case. The scheme you developed to make some taxpayers avoid paying the fair share of taxes. Can you confirm that you think the Isle of Man scheme is legal? It was legal at that time?
Well, absolutely. You know, if you think about the steps that we go through with that particular tax plan, first of all, it went through a detailed technical review by a first partner. It went through a detailed technical review by a second partner. Then it went through a review of our General Anti-Avoidance Committee. Then we obtained an independent legal opinion as to the effectiveness of this particular plan, not once but twice, both from a Canadian perspective and an Isle of Man perspective. And then finally it was signed off and approved by our managing partner of our national tax practice before it was ever implemented.
Thank you. And do you think it's putting some investment in offshore company and getting back here to Canada as a gift from a company to another company, do you think that that kind of behavior is moral?
I think you have to look at it through two different lenses. I mean, if you think about the way that the Canadian tax rules have evolved, so in 1999 there was opportunities for taxpayers to use non-resident trusts to affect tax planning objectives. And those were under the scrutiny of the Department of Finance for quite some time. The rules were in fact changed with respect to non-resident trusts in 2013, retroactive back to January 1st, 2007. So, you know, from the time that this particular plan was developed, there was 13 or 14 years before the legislation actually shut down some of that similar planning. It was retroactive to January 1st, 2007.
Thank you, but my question was, do you think it's moral to do that? What is your standard in KPMG? Is it legal? Or moral is also playing a role in what you develop as a scheme?
That's that third lens I talked about the responsibility. Does it have the right fit for our clients? Does it have the right fit for us? Does it fit within our global code of conduct? We determined back in 2003 that that was something that we were no longer prepared to implement as an organization. So in today's light, absolutely, back in 2003, that was the time when we suggested that that was not something that we were
So now in 2016,
so 2016,
you think it's not appropriate to develop a scheme like that today?
If we decided in 2003 that we were no longer going to implement that plan, absolutely we would not implement that plan today.
Thank you. Et je vais parler un peu maintenant en français, Monsieur le Président, pour savoir si l'Agence du revenu du Canada avait été impliquée dans le développement du stratagème de l'île de Man, et si oui, qui à l'Agence du revenu a été impliqué pour approuver ce stratagème.
So the plan was developed in 1999. There was nobody from CRA involved in the development of that plan.
Est-ce que parfois vous faites appel à l'Agence du revenu pour approuver ou vérifier la légalité de certains stratagèmes? Et combien d'autres stratagèmes du genre avez-vous avec des pays qui ont des impositions très basses, des paradis fiscaux? Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres stratagèmes comme ça? Est-ce que parfois vous faites appel à l'Agence du revenu pour les approuver?
As I mentioned earlier, there are times when we will seek advance tax rulings on behalf of our clients. That's pretty rare. To your second question, which was you have to. The way the tax law in Canada has changed and the way the world on tax law has changed, there's two elements. There's business taxation for multinationals and there's taxation for individuals. In Canada, multinational corporations are expected to pay the tax that is owed in Canada on the profits that they make in Canada. And so to this day, there still is a lot of use of non-resident jurisdictions outside of the Canadian tax system, and that is fine by government policy as long as the income earned in Canada by the multinational corporation is taxed in Canada. For individuals, the way that the world has evolved today, including some of the legislative changes around non-residence trusts that took place in 2013 and a final change in 2014, individual citizens of Canada are expected to pay tax in Canada on their worldwide income regardless of where it's earned. So that's the way the rules have evolved, that's the way the system's evolved. And as you know from filing your tax return, hopefully within the last few days, on the second page you have to actually tick off whether or not you have more than $100,000 worth of property located outside of Canada.
Thank you.
It's on that basis that our plans are effective today.
Thank you. I just have another question. If you are aware of something illegal and you have the name of the people who are involved into that, would you be able to provide the names of those people who commit illegal activity?
Under our professional rules, I'm speculating a little bit, but I believe that's our obligation.
Yeah.
If we believe it's illegal.
Yeah. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would like to move a motion. I can read it in English. That the committee compel KPMG to provide documents indicating the names of clients who use the Isle of Man tax sheltering scheme and the names of the KPMG employees responsible for the development and marketing of the tax scheme.
Do you have that in writing?
Yes, I do.
Pierre? Minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was surprised to hear that you said you want to help getting back the trust of Canadians about the tax system. Because, well, my question would be, do you think that setting up a scheme in the Isle of Man for 16 people who can pay $100,000 a fee to get that scheme for them, do you think it helps getting back the trust of Canadians about the tax system?
I think if you look at that particular issue through the lens that we look at today, no. I think that if you look at that issue in the lens that existed at the time in 1999, where it was policy and practice for individuals to have monies in a non-resident structure offshore, it was a very different time. I mean, we used to smoke in restaurants in 2006. We used to text, you know, in our cars up until 2 years ago. Times change and we change with it. Looking at it through that lens, it can't defend it.
Do you think continuing to set up complicated scheme by a bunch of lawyers and accountants to help avoid paying taxes? You said you are free, every taxpayer is free to arrange their affair as they see fit, as long as it's legal. But do you think it helps when multimillionaire clients of KPMG go to you and ask you if you are able to provide them a scheme to avoid the much taxes as possible? Do you think it helps getting back that trust that you said you want to get back? That
with respect isn't what we do. I mean, what we do for the 35,000 tax clients we have is we help them comply with the tax law, but we also provide planning. So if you're a successful entrepreneur that runs a pet food store and you make $200,000 a year, if you have that business as an individual, you pay $85,000 worth of tax. If we help them incorporate, they pay $25,000 a year in tax. We can save them $60,000 a year in tax. That's tax planning, and that's absolutely legitimate because the government policy is to allow small business owners, small and medium-sized business, to earn up to $750,000 of their income and pay a very, very low rate of tax. That's how we keep the economy going. So our role is, one, compliance, but also two, to ensure that our clients understand the opportunities that are available to them, all legal, all lawful, within the income tax system.
Just my last question, Mr. Chair, would be about the amnesty that was given to your clients. I know you cannot talk in details about that, But do you receive that kind of amnesty letter often at KPMG? So does other taxpayers, like, do average taxpayers receive that kind of amnesty by CRA to avoid interest penalties and criminal rules?
Yeah, in general, well, every Canadian has the right to have a voluntary disclosure with the Canada Revenue Agency about issues that they want to report on their tax return. They've got the right, or they've got the opportunity to do it right when they file their tax return, but also after the fact. If there's something that they don't feel comfortable about, they have the right to go talk to CRA under the Voluntary Disclosure Program in Canada. That's a right every Canadian has, whether you're a waiter with undisclosed tips or whatever else it is. And those settlements, when you arrive at a settlement with the tax authority, with CRA, you end up paying the tax you otherwise would have paid plus interest. You don't fall into the penalty
But do you
regime.
see those kind of amnesties often?
Here.